WNBA What each team needs in the WNBA draft at Facebook, Twitter, email, link, photo illustration by Emily SCHERER /images/AP photo/. Just a week after women's college basketball crowned South Carolina its champion, the WNBA draft is here. You can watch tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, and it's nothing less than magical. Every few minutes, a young woman, who has been working at her craft for many years, will see her professional dreams come true. But for WNBA teams, particularly those selecting in the first round, there's a more businesslike reason to anticipate this day. It is the final chance to add talent just a few weeks ahead of the league's opening day on May 6th. For some teams, the stakes are lower. These are the teams drafting in rounds 2 and 3, where most who are drafted do not make the opening night roster. Simply put, there's much more talent than there are roster spots. The Minnesota Lynx are an example of this phenomenon, as we saw on Sunday, when General Manager Cheryl Reeve traded her 2 top picks, 8th and 13th overall, to Las Vegas for the Aces' first and second round picks in 2023. We believe this year's draft is a good draft. However, with the players that we currently have under contract and the limited roster space remaining, we made the decision to turn our attention to future opportunities, Reeve said after the trade was completed. A roster crunch for a win-now team, Sylvia Fowles, after all, is playing her final season, helped seal the deal. Other teams have treated the 2022 draft similarly. Seattle doesn't pick until 17th, with a roster built to maximize what is likely Sue Bird's final year and Breanna Stewart's commitment to the Storm, which runs through only 2022. Phoenix, with Diana Taurasi, Scylla Diggins-Smith, Tina Charles, and we all hope Brittany Griner, won't pick until 26th. And the Chicago Sky. They won't pick at all, the luxury for general manager James Wade, when he kept his defending champions largely intact, and then added former finals MVP Emma Seaman in free agency. Wade vowed to me that he'll be popping popcorn while he watches this evening. Hopefully he puts out the video and turns himself into a meme. So who does have work to do tonight? Let's break it down. Start with the top pick, which goes to the Atlanta Dream. Atlanta acquired it in a deal with Washington, and the Mystics sent back pick NOS 3 and 14 in 2022. DC also received the right to swap picks with the Los Angeles Sparks' first-round pick that Atlanta now holds, essentially Washington GM Mike Thibault subtweeting LA GM Derek Fisher's offseason. So what does Atlanta need? A lot. The Dream finished 8-20 for last season, and new general manager Dan Padover is taking the long view, beginning with the addition of an elite talent. Barring some shock, it will be Rhyne Howard, the best overall player in the 2022 draft. Obviously, a good-sized wing player who can score in multiple ways and also has the ability to defend when she wants to, Padover said on a conference call with reporters last week. Led a program with not a ton of help around her for a lot of those 4 years, and had a lot of responsibility on her back on the offensive end. So it'll be interesting to see what she's like around the pro level with teammates that have pro SS. But I think the ceiling for her is very high, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. Howard is a two-way wing from Kentucky, an elite finisher at the rim, and three-point shooter who is also north of 3% in both block and steal rates. She has largely suffered from the public conversation that always follows consensus top picks, namely that when one player is atop the rankings for too long, folks look for reasons not to pick her, rather than focusing on what got her to the top. But she's going to be the first pick, she should be, and the Dream have their wing of the future as they chase the top pick in 2023, so they can pair her with Aaliyah Boston of South Carolina. Padover, like I said, is taking the long view. You know who else is taking the long view? Lynn Dunn, new general manager of the Indiana Fever. She now controls picks 2, 4, 6 and 10, and her Fever went 6-26 last season, while Indiana has just 2 guaranteed contracts for next season. If you wanted to construct the ideal scenario for a GM to rebuild, it is hard to imagine a better one. First and foremost, in the first round, we're looking at the best player available, Dunn told reporters last week. We've got a list. We've got a board charting those top 10 players by best available, and then we've also got a chart over here beside us charting what we need. In our particular situation, we need a lot. We need help inside. We need help outside. It's a little bit easier for us to pinpoint our needs because they're glaring. But we are essentially in that first round with 2, 4, 6 and 10 looking at the best player available. Indiana is about to construct a team in Dunn's image. Some combination of Baylor big N. Alyssa Smith, Louisville wing Emily Insler, South Carolina guard Destany Henderson, and Colorado forward Maya Hollingshed would provide head coach Marianne Stanley with plenty to work with. The Mystics maintain that third pick, and many believe Thibault will select Mississippi center Shakira Austin, while others are equally sure he will go in another direction. Certainly, both Insler and Michigan big Naz Hillman are more suited to the tasks of the DC offense and defense, but a pick of anyone other than Austin will shake up draft boards around the league. At the 5th pick, the New York Liberty are in a position to get more value out of the draft, a season after general manager Jonathan Kalb snagged the Rookie of the Year, Michaela Onyenwere, at the 6th overall pick, and added a key contributor, Didi Richards, all the way down at 17. New York needs to get better on the boards, even after adding center Steph Dawson in free agency, and someone like versatile big Niera Sabaly, who was among the best rebounders in the nation this past season, will help tremendously. Hillman, too, would be a good fit here, though that is mitigated by the extent new head coach Sandy Brondello plans to play 5 out, and how quickly New York thinks it can expand Hillman's range. They did it with Richards a year ago, however. At 7, the Dallas Wings are a true wild card. Do they find a big to replace Bella Larry, who is sitting out the 2022 season for personal reasons? They already added Tiara McCowan in a trade, and they have several other bigs, from Isabel Harrison to 2020's second overall pick to Sabaly to last year's top 2 picks in Charlie Collier and Awak Cuellar, to feed minutes to. Do they try to add to an already crowded backcourt with Marina Mabrey, Eric Ogunbowl, last year's 5th overall pick Chelsea Dungy, 2020's 7th pick Tyesha Harris, and veteran point guard Mariah Jefferson? It says here the best bet to stash an overseas player such as Sika Cone is at that 7 spot. But Wings president Greg Bibb never shies away from adding to his roster crunches and letting the players fight it out for those 12 spots, either. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Aces are now in control of picks 8, 11 and 13, the latter the first pick of the second round. And while we know relatively little about their intentions, Natalie Williams, the GM, has been on the job for only a few days, while the incoming coach, Becky Hammon, plans to play a very different style from departing bully ball coach Bill Laimbeer. Any team employing Aja Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Derica Hamby and Kelsey Plum in their primes is, by definition, a win-now team. Someone like NC State's Alyssa Cunane can help at the 5, while Henderson or LSU's Kayla Pointer makes sense as a change of pace guard to pair with Gray at the 1. Hollingshed also makes sense here. Exactly what the Los Angeles Sparks can do at number 9 is hard to pinpoint. As it is, there are really not enough minutes to go around among their bigs. Somehow Chiny Ogwuyemik, a multi-time All-Star and legit star, might end up the 4th or 5th big, and there's a similar logjam in the backcourt behind Chendi Carter. It is easy to see LA go the stash route with Cone if Dallas doesn't. Something like adding a combo guard like Kristen Williams of UConn, or shooter Lexi Hull of Stanford and seeing what they bring to camp could make sense here, too. Los Angeles does need plenty of offense and spacing. Finally, at pick 12, I'll make this simple. If Veronica Burton, the elite defensive point guard out of Northwestern, is available, Connecticut Sun GM Kurt Miller has an easy path. He needs to replace Brian January, and he and his elite staff, led by Brandy Poole and Chris Colanes, could get Burton up to speed quickly on pro schemes. While she's been merely good, not great, from 3, her strong free throw percentages suggest there is growth potential there as well,